Take a look at Parshas Toldos. Okay, Parshas Toldos is loaded with fundamental concepts, so we have to go through them slowly here. Eila Toldos Yitzchak ben Avram. These are the offspring of Yitzchak, the son of Avram. Avram holid es Yitzchak. Avram gave birth, bore Yitzchak. Now Rashi points out over here, it's obviously repetition. However, these are the generation of Yitzchak, the son of Avraham. Avram bore Yitzchak. So the question begs itself, why does the Torah go and repeat that Avram bore Yitzchak? And so if you take a look at Rashi, the top line. It's the third line of Rashi, last two words. Third line of Rashi, right column, last two words. Why does the Torah repeat this? Lefisha hayu leitzane hador omrim. The skeptics, the cynics of the generation were saying, May Avimelech nisabra Sarah, that Sarah got pregnant from Avimelech. Remember, she was taken by two kings. She was taken by Paro, and she was taken later on by Avimelech in last week's Parsha. So the skeptics, the cynics, they said, yeah, listen, she got pregnant from Avimelech, obviously. Shaharei kama shanim shasa im Avram. She was with her husband Avram for so many years. Veloni sabra mimenu. And she didn't get pregnant from her husband Avram. You know, what a causing, I mean, how would you read the data? Lady didn't get pregnant for about 90 years. All of a sudden she's alone with Avimelech, who's no Boy Scout, and he wasn't Shomer, and next thing you know, she's pregnant. Well, what would, oh, I see, miraculous. Miraculous. So they were skeptical. Ma'asa HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what did HaKadosh Baruch Hu do to prevent the cynicism? Tsar cluster panav shel Yitzchak domel Avram. He made Yitzchak look exactly with a spitting image of Avram Avinu. Veheidu hakol Avram holid es Yitzchak. Then everybody then said, yeah, Avram was the father. So the Torah repeats it in order to emphasize that Avram. Now, there are two very important lessons here. First of all, there's a medrash that says that they were saying, well, she got pregnant either from Avimelech or Paro, because she was also alone with Paro. There's only one problem. The incident with Avimelech took place 12 months earlier. Okay, that's a long pregnancy, usually 9 months. 12 months, I can understand maybe somebody lost track of a month or something. You know, the incident with Paro took place 25 years earlier. That would be a long pregnancy. And by the way, the 9th month of pregnancy always seems like 9 months. The last month of pregnancy it's a very long month for the husbands, and the what do you call it? Because the wife is scratching a lot. So look, Avimelech, okay, Paro, I mean really, yeah, Paro, 25 years she's been pregnant. Where's that come from? The answer is that it shows you when somebody's a cynic. You see, there's something in Hebrew called leitzanos. That's why it says leitzane hador, the skeptics, the cynics. Leitzanos is forbidden. Leitzanos is generally taking something that you should relate to seriously and making jokes about it. An example would be like if you go into shul with the lulav and esrog and you start sword fighting a little bit with the lulav. That's not the time for frivolity. It's not the time for joking around. You're taking something serious. You got a mitzvah, a lulav and an esrog, and you're fulfilling a Torah, and all of a sudden you start playing around with the lulav and the esrog, or you put on your tefillin and you start making jokes about tefillin or whatever it is. That's not. There's a certain time in life where it's not joking. That's not time. Laughter is perfectly acceptable in Torah. As a matter of fact, his name is Yitzchak. Yitzchak means laughter. And this is Yitzchak whose midah, his trait was yira, was fear, awe of Hashem. Yet his name means laughter. There's nothing wrong with laughter. Laughter we're meant to be. That's why Hakadosh Baruch Hu gave us the ability to laugh. And they've done studies in science. They've done studies that laughter is actually healthy, and people who laugh 300 times a day. So they have, they get rich or something. Something happens when they laugh. Something good happens. Right? That's perfectly okay. It releases what's it called, endorphins or something. And you're. There's nothing wrong with laughter at an appropriate time. That means we're supposed to be upbeat. But to be cynical And we saw that Sarah Imenu's laughter, remember we spoke about Sarah Imenu, when she laughed, it was an internal laugh. It was a cynical laugh that she's going to have a child. That's totally inappropriate. The cynics over here, oh, come on, give me a break. Everybody's talking about a miracle. It's a miraculous birth. And then somebody comes along and undermines it. That's the danger of cynicism. You undermine it. And there's no limit to how cynical a person could be. You see, the Medrash says, well, she probably got pregnant from either Avimelech or Paro. Because when you're in a cynical state, so don't confuse me with the facts. Yeah, but it's 25 years ago. Okay, that sort of thing. And therefore, now the question becomes why? What's the agenda over here? If these cynics were trying to take away the credit from Avraham Avinu, or trying to take away credit from a miraculous birth, what's in it for them? Why are they all making rumors that Hashem then has to go and make sure Yitzchak looks exactly like Avraham Avinu, so that everybody will realize, yeah, it was from Avraham Avinu? Anybody got an idea? What's in it for them? If somebody's attacking something, you only attack when there's something in it for you. Well, why are they attacking the possibility that Avram was the father? Anybody got an idea? What do you say?
I would say that they are mocking Abraham because they don't want to feel that they should be moved by his teachings, because Abraham represents the Torah and truth. So if they mock him, it will make them feel better.
Excellent, very good. In other words, we have something called a Masorah. You know what a Masorah is? The tradition. If somebody says, how do we know Torah is true? How do you know Torah is true? What's the proof of Torah? Okay, they have codes and they have this and that. That's all very nice. There's one proof of Torah. The proof of Torah is that the Torah was given to the Jewish people and it was handed down generation to generation, what we call a Masorah, the tradition. We have an unbroken chain. The unbroken chain begins with Avram Avinu. If there's an unbroken chain, then it's binding. The motivation for anybody who does not want to accept Torah, the underlying motivation is because I don't want to have rules, limitations. I want to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it. So there's an agenda over here that people want to attack. They do not want to acknowledge the fact that there's a tradition from Avram to Yitzchak. If we could break that tradition, so that's not binding on me. That's otherwise, why does anybody care? The answer is that I care a lot because you're trying to take away my freedom. When God held the mountain over the Jewish people, when he gave them the Torah, the Jewish people accepted the Torah. Now, when there's a mountain being held over your head, so you become very reasonable. But at the end of the day, why wouldn't they want a Torah? The answer is because the Torah imposes on us with all the benefits, but the Torah does impose on our freedom. The idea in the Bill of Rights in the United States, there's a Bill of Rights. What's the first right in the Bill of Rights? Freedom of speech. In Torah, there's no freedom of speech. To the contrary, you're not free to speech. You can't speak Lashon Hara. You can't insult people. You can't lie. There's anything but freedom of speech. There's no freedom. Bill of Rights. Freedom is America's all about freedom. You have all the freedom you want as long as you're a democratic liberal. You have all the freedom you want in America. As long as you think like we do, then you're free. But you're free to do what you want. In Torah, there's no freedom. What kind of freedom is there? Not only that, you got to get up in the morning because you got a time that you have to say Kriya Shema. You can't just sleep. You can't just sleep late. You got to get up and say Kriya Shema by a certain time in the morning, and you can't just eat whatever you want, and so on and so forth. I know. You're thinking about this time getting up in the morning. I know. Yeah, but we're talking about before noon chai. Yeah. So yeah, you have to get up. There's no freedom over here. It's not freedom. It's fulfilling, and it gives us purpose in life, and it's beneficial, and it's the only way to live. But at the end of the day, it is an imposition, and therefore that's their agenda. Now, then it says in Pasuk Beis, Vahi Yitzchak ben Arbaim Shana bekachto es Rivka bas Besul Arami Padan Aram. Yitzchak is 40 years old when he marries Rivka. Achos Lavan ha'arami lo leisha. He takes Lavan, Rivka, the sister of Lavan, which we already knew, by the way. We already knew that she's Lavan's sister, and Mefarshim say that the reason the Torah points it out is because in case you're wondering how did she end up with a son like Esau. So where did that come from? I mean, she's a wonderful person, Rivka, and Yitzchak's a wonderful. So how did she end up with a son like Esau? The answer is she's got a brother like Lavan, and the Gemara says, Rov banim, most sons, domim la'achei ha'em. Most sons are similar to the mother's brothers. It may mean physical, may mean the physical appearance, but more likely means their temperament, their behavior, their general nature. Which I could tell you, if you look around you, you'll see that there's a lot of truth to it. My own sons are more like my wife's side of the family than my side of the family. So, just say there are certain things that they're like my side of the family, but they're more like my wife's brothers than my brothers. If you had to pick one, which way do they lean? And remember, I'm biased towards my own family, but if I had to pick which way they lean in the other direction. That's what the Gemara says, and it's very true. One of the reasons, I'll get to you one second, one of the reasons is because the greatest influence on children, who's got a greater influence, the father or the mother? The mother has a greater influence. Whether we like to admit it or not, it's true. The mother has a greater influence on them because she's with them more and she instills more value in them and so on and so forth. And who had an influence on the mother? Her brothers. The brothers have an influence on the mother. So there's a certain amount of cause and effect here. Question, Andrew, you had a question?
What if the mother doesn't have brothers?
Then they won't be like her brother. Yeah. Most statistics show that if she does not have brothers, like statistics show, if a person's parents did not have children, he won't either. So there are certain statistics there are certain data. You're right. It's talk about when there are brothers, most resembles. That's why Torah says she's got this brother love. Now let's go to the next one. This is the main point I want to get to today. Vayetar Yitzchak la Hashem lenochach ishto. Yitzchak davens to Hashem opposite his wife. According to some, it means for the benefit of his wife. Ki akorahi, for she was barren. Vayetar lo Hashem, Hashem responds to him. Vatahar Rivka ishto, Rivka becomes pregnant. Now there are two things we see from this pasuk. Yitzchak and Rivka did not have children. She got married when, according to the tradition, she got married when she was 3 years old, and it's 20 years later now. Don't wonder about the 3 years old. The 3 years old is, according to one of the opinions, is that Yitzchak at the time of the Akedah was 37, and then Rivka was born. She was born, and he had to wait until she's 3 before he married her. It's a very young Kala. In the religious world they get married young. So that is pretty young. And according to some, we can't wonder about that because I told you, on the other end, they were living to 180, 175, 180. So they're not clear. Things seems to have changed. And this is a 3-year-old who's drawing water from a well to feed camels. Can we open one of those windows a little bit, guys, so we get some airflow? Yeah, there it is. Yeah. No, it's winter. I was having mercy, but I see that guys are starting to wilt. So at a certain point, we have to get some airflow. Better cold than wilt. So she's drawing water for camel. Now there are opinions that 3 years old doesn't mean she was literally 3 years old. It means when Yitzchak did the Akedah, Rivka, at whatever age she was at that time, it was 3 years of absorbing some sort of kedusha from the effects of the Akedah, and now she's ready to marry Yitzchak. And then he marries her. That's what it's like. You can either literally or symbolically, whatever it is, they get married. Now, Rashi says a shocker here, and you take a look at Rashi. They don't have children. They're married 20 years. They don't have children. So Yitzchak davens opposite his wife. They were both davening. And then take a look at Rashi. This is the Rashi I want to bring something out over here. It's on the left column, and it's 5 lines from the top. Left column, 5 lines from the top. So it says, Vayeyaser lo. Says Rashi, Hashem responded to him. Now the word Vayeyaser, by the way, atar is like a shovel or a pitchfork. Not sure which one it is. It flips the hay over from side to side. When you dig in and you flip it over with like a pitchfork or a shovel, so that's what an atar is. And the Medrash says that the prayers of the righteous are like a pitchfork in the haystack. The same way a pitchfork flips over the hay, the prayer of the righteous changes, it flips over midas hadin, the attribute of strict justice, into the attribute of mercy. It flips over. That's the strength, the penetrating strength of tefillah. So Yitzchak daven. Now look at Rashi. Vayeyaser lo. Rashi says lo v'lo lo. Yitzchak Hashem responded to Yitzchak's prayer, not to Rivka's prayer. Why not? She'ein domet tfilas tzadik ben Rasha. You can't compare the tefillah of a tzadik, the son of a Rasha, Litfilas tzadik ben tzadik. What was Rivka? She was a tzaddikus. Rashi uses it in the masculine. She was a tzaddikus. But who was her father? Her father was a no-good named Besuel, who was the head of the clan over there, who actually wanted to try to poison Eliezer when he came down to marry her. And the Medrash says that the Malach switched around the dishes, and he ate the poison, and he died. He was a no-goodnik. And you can't, but she was a tzaddik, so she's a tzaddik ben Rasha. You can't compare her tefillah, the tefillah tzaddik ben tzaddik, to the tefillah of a tzaddik who's the son of a tzaddik, which is Yitzchak. Lefichach lo velo lo. Therefore, the Torah says he was responding to it, not her. Now, what does that mean? I mean, if you would wonder, I want to ask you a question. Look what Yitzchak did and look what Rivka did. Yitzchak is the first FFB in history. He's the first from Yitzchak is from birth. And he's got parents like Avram and Yitzchak. He's got parents like Avram and Sarah. What's Rivka? Her father's a rat. Her grandfather's worse. And she comes out of all of that with a bunch of lowlifes living around her, surrounding the whole city. And she comes out of there as a tzaddikus. Now, who's got a greater merit? Whose tefillah should be listened to? Hers. So why does Hashem listen to his tefillah? He can't compare the two tefillah. He's a tzaddik, the son of a tzaddik. She's a tzaddik, the son of a tzaddik. Why can't you compare? What does that mean? I would have gone in the opposite direction. If you'd ask me who has a greater merit in the davening, I would definitely Rivka, not Yitzchak. Definitely Rivka, not Yitzchak. So why does Rashi say that? What's going on? Anybody got an idea? Okay. So I'll tell you the idea. I got an idea.
The right idea.
Yeah, the right idea. Hopefully the right idea. It's like when somebody says, hey, I got a great idea, and nobody in the room accepts it. You ever been in one of the, I got a great idea. Let's go up to the Syrian border. Yeah, bad idea, bad idea. And everybody rejects it. Yeah, no, we're not going to do that. Okay. So the idea is like this. Imagine you're in Soviet Russia under the jurisdiction of the, are you cold? You cold? No, I want to hear you say yes, so I can say good. But okay, you're in the Soviet. You're under communist rule, and religion is outlawed. And 10 Jews find a cellar somewhere and have a clandestine minyan. They get together to daven. I want to ask you, how much? Sometimes you go to shul. Unfortunately, during davening, sometimes people schmooze a little bit. Maybe they talk about a little bit about business. Maybe they talk a little bit about the community. Maybe they talk a little bit about sports. Some schmoozing in shul, a little bit of talking. How much chit-chat do you think there would be among 10 Jews in a cellar in the Soviet Union where if you get caught, you go to Siberia? How much talking is there? What do you think that davening would look like? Zilch on the talking. What did davening look like? Probably our davening on Yom Kippur. That's what their davening looks like every day for mincha. For mincha, anytime they're davening in a time. Why is that? Sometimes in life, the disadvantage ironically becomes an advantage. When somebody says you can't, or you have to pull yourself out of adversity, sometimes the pulling yourself out of adversity takes you have a bit of a head start. Now let me ask you a question. You walk into a shul, gentlemen, and you see two people davening. One guy is davening like this. He's got a sitter, he's davening. Okay. Then you got another guy davening like this. like that. And then I say to you, okay, one of them is a Baal Teshuva, and one of them is a from birth, and now you got a wager. Put down some money on it. Who would you choose is the FFB, and who would you choose is the Baal Teshuva? Right? We all know that the second one is the Baal Teshuva. Why is that? Isn't that interesting? And everybody would do that. That would be the bet. Why? The guy's practically eating his sitter, right? Why? Why is that? I remember a guy saying when I was a little kid, I remember Baal Teshuva, this back in the days before there were Baal Teshuva, there was a guy in the neighborhood, the Baal Teshuva, he used to come to shul in the morning. I remember he had his tefillin in a brown paper bag. And he pulled out his tefillin. I remember always thinking to myself, boy, if I had a brown paper bag, I'd have food in there. And he pulls out his tefillin. I never saw anybody do that. And then he put them on. It was like that. That was, and he was, why?
Because he feels a bigger connection to Hashem.
Why?
Because he came to find Hashem.
Right. He feels, to a certain extent, a Baal Teshuva feels, you're under the gun, and you pulled yourself out of it, so you're not going to mess around. an FFB, I wouldn't say that we take it for granted, but you've done this before. It's like, relax, man. It's just mincha. Just relax. It's just davening. It's just tefillin. And you lose some of the enthusiasm. The Gemara says, atikta kashe mechadeta. Something that you've studied already versus new. You have an old piece of Gemara and you have to review it. It's hard to review an old piece of Gemara. There's certain excitement in a new piece of Gemara. When something is new, that's why children, by the way, you ever notice children never want to go to sleep? Children always want to stay up. Children don't like going to sleep. Why is that? Because everything in life is new to them. Everything to a child is new. So there's excitement. There's a knock at the door at 10 o'clock at night. The kid can't wait to see who's at the door. I open the door. Oh, it's Uncle Max. Oh, great. And the kids want to say, "Who's here?" I bring the kid. Hey, kid, I'll switch places with you. I'll go to sleep. You entertain Uncle Max. I don't. The guy's boring as sin. Well, what? Why is the kid something new, something exciting? For the Baal Teshuva, there's a certain new freshness. There's a certain excitement. The FFB, if we're now going to be on even keel, who had to reach back for more juice here? Who had to pull out more energy to get to the same level of tefillah? Right. No. The Baal Teshuva's got that natural drive because it's all new. The FFB, if it's equal and they're davening equal, that means the FFB really, really had to reach back. He really had to pull something out. That's why you can't compare the tefillah of a tzaddik ben tzaddik. If all else is equal, she's got an advantage. What's the adversity becomes the advantage. And therefore, the tefillah of Yitzchak is a stronger, more powerful tefillah than the tefillah of Rivka. Because a tzaddik ben tzaddik who's davening and he's really davening and it's something you've been doing your whole life, that means you're really, really putting your where the other one has a more natural energy. You understand? And it's true in other areas of life as well. Now, there's another question here. If you take a look, and this is we have to go for a bit of a ride here. Avram Avinu couldn't have children. And it's only after, that means even after he had Yishmael, he was not able to have children, and it's only because Hashem said, okay, now you're going to have Yitzchak, that he was able to have another child. But once he had Yishmael, after he had Yishmael, he became barren. And he can't have more children. His wife Sarah was barren. Rivka was barren. Yaakov Avinu has two wives, Rachel and Leah, both were barren. Leah was barren also, even though she started having children right away. That's only because Hashem opened up the barrenness. Yitzchak was not barren. That's why it says he davened for her. He didn't have to daven for himself. He wasn't barren. And Yaakov Avinu certainly wasn't barren. Now, why is it that Avram Avinu was, Yitzchak and Yaakov weren't, whereas all four mothers were? Why do you have this? You have a variation over here. Why is Avram barren and Yitzchak, Yaakov are not? Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, all of them are barren. Why is that? So to answer that, we have to take a look at another story. You know the story of Shmuel HaNavi? Shmuel HaNavi has a mother. Her mother's name is Chana. There's a man named Elkanah, and Elkanah has two wives. One of them is Chana, and one of them is Pnina. Pnina had children. Chana did not have children. And Chana goes to the Beis HaMikdash and she davens. And Eli was the Kohen Gadol. Eli was the Kohen Gadol. I saw her davening. And it's very interesting because the Gemara in Brachos, you want to hear something interesting? What to daven and when to daven, that we learn from men. How to daven, we learn from women. Isn't that interesting? How to daven, we learn from women. Because we learn how to daven from Chana. It's a very interesting thing. Why is that?
She prayed for
a child.
Yeah.
Yet the Gemara, when it talks about how to daven, we learn from Chana. Why do you think that is?
She was like the prayer superstar, no?
The what?
The davening superstar.
But she was a davening superstar. She happened to be a woman, though, because most women are davening superstars as compared to us. When it comes to natural, why do men need a minyan and women don't need a minyan? Men, we got to go to a minyan. So we have the Shechina, so we have an environment that's conducive and helps us to daven. Because if we daven alone in our room, it's not much of a davening. Get 1 second. Women could daven alone. You ever watch women davening? You ever, as a mother, sister, daughter davening? Watch a girl daven. Women daven from the earliest age. I have my daughters, my sons and my daughters. The girls daven like this. even the FFPs. They have a natural connection. You see little boys daven? Little boys are done before they start. 3 steps forward, 3 steps back, they're finished. You put 2 little boys together, davening. Women are never hitting each other. They all go stand in a corner like this, just davening away. They have a natural connection to davening. Okay. Yitzchak didn't need children. Yitzchak wasn't barren. Rivka was barren. Chana davens for a child. She has a child named Shmuel, and she pledges, if I have a child, I will dedicate my child to the Beis Hamikdash. He'll serve in the Beis Hamikdash from the earliest age. Eli, who's the Kohen Gadol, gives her a bracha. And she has a child. And then this child, Shmuel, is in the Beis Hamikdash. He's 3 years old. And one day, they had a halachic question about shechting an animal. And they didn't know what to do. And Shmuel came up and said, hey, it's okay. You can have somebody who's not a Kohen shech the animal. And Eli said he's right, but he's guilty of rendering a halachic decision in front of his Rebbe. Eli's the Rebbe. What's the halacha? A more hara bifnei rabba. What's the halacha? Kai visa. You're not allowed, if you render a halachic decision in front of a rabbi, or your rabbi, person incurs heavenly wrath.
Well, your rabbi or a rabbi, because that's a big difference.
It's your officially your rabbi, but in general it's considered completely uncouth if there's any rabbi, especially when the rabbi was asked a question. Sometimes there's somebody standing next to the rabbi, somebody asks the rabbi a question, and then some student jumps up and answers it, right? Which is considered certainly uncouth, even if he's not chayiv misa. So he's chayiv to be taught some manners, but he's not chayiv misa. Maybe lashes would be good. Lashes would be good. You know what? We ought to get a strap in here. So what do you call that now? What happens? Eli says we should put him to death. Put him to death. He's more hora bifnei rabba. He deserves to die. Chana says famous words. Don't kill. El hanara zehi spalalti. I daven for this child. Leave him. Spare him. What's going on? Why did Eli want to put him to death? Why did Chana? Okay. So let's try to answer this. We'll come back to the Avos. We are living off of the merit of Avram Avinu. But why did the chain start with Avram Avinu? Why didn't it start with his father Terach? I mean, if there's an Avram, there was a Terach, right? So the chain didn't start with Avram. And at what point do you say the chain started? Well, he also had a father, and he also had a father. Why did the chain start with Avram Avinu? The answer is because he was barren. That means that Terach's line would have ended with Avram Avinu. Do you follow? Terach's line would have ended with Avram Avinu. But Hashem gave Avram Avinu the miraculous ability to have children. Therefore, the line starts with Avram Avinu. Avram has a son, Yitzchak. There's no need for him to be barren. We don't need a new beginning. He's a son of Avram and Sarah. Yaakov doesn't need a new beginning because he's a son of Yitzchak and Rivka. That's part of the chain. But what happens on the woman's side? Sarah had a father named Haran. Well, if Sarah, where does the chain begin? The chain begins with she's barren. Haran's chain would have ended. It restarts with Sarah. The same thing with Rivka, who was her father, Bisuel. So why don't we, pay tribute to Bisuel? Because the chain would have ended with Rivka. She was barren. And then the chain would have ended. You go to Rachel and Leah. Rachel and Leah had a father. Who was it? Lavan. Well, we'd hate to say, Avram Avinu, Lavan Avinu. Can you imagine Bisuel Avinu? No, we don't want to say that. So there needs to be, the beginning of the chain is when somebody is barren. What happened with Eli and Chana? Eli sees, hey, this kid Shmuel has got a bit of he's a bit cheeky, speaking out of turn and taking, he doesn't know his place. Who was his ancestor? Who was Shmuel's ancestor? He had a famous Levi. Shmuel's a Levi. Who was Shmuel's ancestor? His ancestor was Korach. What was Korach involved with? The first rebellion against Moshe Rabbeinu. So Eli takes a look at Shmuel, and he says, oh, he's still got those Korach genes in him. If his ancestor Korach was doing this, and that's where Korach looked through prophetically, saw Shmuel coming from him. So he's thinking to himself, hey, listen, Korach was a rebel, and this kid's already showing signs of rebellion. We're going to take him out. So what is Chana's response? Elanara zei spalalti, I davened for this child, meaning I was barren. That means the Korach chain would have ended. This child is a new beginning of a chain. You don't have to worry, there's no connection to Korach. And therefore the Ovos and Imos, the ones that were barren, it's because we want to start a new chain from them. Yaakov and Yitzchak and Yaakov, we don't need a new chain. Now there's one more question, gentlemen. Before I take the question, there's one more question. I want you to look at this pasuk very carefully again. Take a look at the pasuk. Vayeyaser Yitzchak laHashem lenochach ishto ki akari. Fourth line. And so you should have a problem with the pasuk, with the structure of the pasuk. You should have a problem with the structure of the pasuk. Anybody see the problem? Vayetar Yitzchak laHashem lenochach ishto ki akari. What's that? Excellent. What's your name? What's that? First name? Elazar. Beautiful name. So the Torah says Yitzchak davened for his wife because she was barren. I understand. And then it says she got pregnant. I understand something. What's the topic? What is the topic of the story? What's the subject here? Once upon a time, if I was writing it, I said, once upon a time, there was a woman named Rivka who was barren. And because she was barren, her husband davened for her, and then she had children. I wouldn't say, once upon a time, there was a man named Yitzchak who davened because his wife was barren. So why does the Torah put it in this order? So to answer that, you hear the problem. Every problem is clear. Sort of. Well, if you were submitting a paper, if you were writing a paper, if you took a paper off AI and submitted it, how would you expect it to come out? Would you expect it to come out? Would you expect the story to be, there was a woman who was barren, her husband davened, or a man davened because his wife was barren? In correct English structure. Is that called syntax or something? Mm-hmm. Is there a word like syntax? What does it mean? Sentence structure. Got it. We learned something in high school. Syntax. So I thought that was with the tax on whiskey and and so like the syntax. Yeah. So so you have it. Oh, Shia, listen. There's got to be a tax on it. If there's a tax on it, it means it's good. So the question is like this. The question is further. Let's go back to the barrenness. Why do they have to be barren? And the Gemara makes an amazing statement. The Gemara says, why the Imahos and Avos were barren? Hashem desires the prayer of the righteous. What does that mean? Hashem, because he wants your prayer, so he wanted them to daven, so Hashem made them barren. So I want to give you an example. You've heard of the Navy SEALs, right? You've heard of the Navy SEALs. The toughest division. They're the guys who took out, what's his name? The guy with the beard and the tichel. Yeah, bin Laden. Yeah, they're the guys who took out bin Laden. Now, I'm going to give you an example. This is not so far from the truth. I once read up on the SEALs. At one point, I was considering it as a career. They weren't considering me. I was considering. So I read up on the SEALs, enchanted by these guys. So they start off, and this is true. They'll start off with a group of 500 of the toughest, roughest Marines who are trying to qualify to become Navy SEALs. They'll start with a group of 500, put them through a training program, and sometimes not one guy will pass. Now imagine the following. I'm just giving, it's my example, but it's not so far from the truth. The first week, they have a 3-week training program to qualify. The first week is sleep deprivation week. They're allowed to sleep 45 minutes a night. 45 minutes a night. I know guys who do 45 minutes in a shear. They're allowed 45 minutes a night. And by the third day, 200 guys are going out of their mind. They drop out of the program. They put them in a room, a shower, a bed. You're out of the program. 300 guys are left. They go to the second week. Second week is submersion in ice water on and off for about 12 hours a day. You're just getting cold just thinking about it, right? So by the third day, another 200 guys drop out of the program, put them in a room, a shower, a bed. You're out of the program. The third week is being dangled upside down on and off for 16 hours a day. By the third day, 98 guys drop out of the program. 2 guys make it through. They're the Navy SEALs. Now, somebody looking from the outside, if you saw what was going on, you failed, you get a shower, a meal, a bed, you're out of the program. You passed, congratulations. Now we submerge you in ice water. You failed, you get a shower and a bed. You pass, great. Now we're going to dangle you upside down. Doesn't make any sense. Counterintuitive. Doesn't make any sense. But what happens if you make it all the way through the program? Then you get the singular honor and distinction of becoming the Navy SEALs. I have a friend who went to medical school. So he told me in medical school, he woke up at 6:30 in the morning and studied straight through till 10:30 at night. 6:30 to 10:30, Shia. 6:30 to 10:30, straight through, except he took off 20 minutes a day to play ping pong, to smash the ball around and let out his aggressions. That's what he told me. But he's a doctor. I was a phys ed major. I studied 20 minutes a day, right? And then the rest of the day I took out my aggressions, right? So it's just the opposite. But he makes more money as a doctor, and he gets a lot more money than being a phys ed, than being a gym instructor. That's the way. Why? Because sometimes in life, in order to get to the higher level, you got to get through the adversity. If you want to make it to the football team, they put you through a training program where you're running, smashing into things, and things and people are smashing into you, and you got to run through tires and all the things that they do. And if you don't make it, then you can go sit on the beach. But if you do make it, then you go on to a more difficult. Then you eventually become the professional. Isn't that true? It's like anything in life. The ultimate good, gentlemen. What's the ultimate good in life? What's the best thing in life? Best thing in life is Hashem himself. Hashem is the source of all good. So the ultimate good is to come closer to Hashem. The ultimate good is if it's on a cold day and they have a fire burning in the fireplace, you want to get as close at the camp. You want to get as close to the fire as you can to warm up. The best thing is to get close to the ultimate fire, to get to the source of all good, which is Hashem. He's called Hatov Umetiv. Now, you have to earn the privilege of drawing near. How do you earn the privilege of drawing near to God? You have now earned the privilege of going to medical school. You had to pass your, the MCATs, and you had to get a good GPA in high school, and you had to work while everybody was partying, and then pay for your MCATs, just to have the privilege of now being tortured in medical school. You had to qualify to be tortured. My favorite thing. Let's be tortured, right? And be qualified to torture in medical school. I was once in the hospital. And I remember this doctor, she was falling off her feet. And and I said to her at a certain point, maybe you want to just take a break or something. She said, no, I knew what I was in for. And she just said, yeah, but I didn't know what I was in for. I don't want a doctor who's falling off her feet. But that was what you did it for. You qualified for the torture, like the Navy SEALs. You qualified for the next round of torture till eventually you get the honor of being the Navy SEAL. The Avos, Avram, Sarah, they were on such a high level that Hashem said, you know what? Now you have the opportunity to even get a better reward, to get something even better, which is to come closer to me. How do you come closer to Hashem? By davening. So what does Hashem do? He withholds the thing that they want most, which is a child. And by withholding that, so what's going to happen? Now it's going to bring out a certain level of prayer. And it's that prayer they get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's why he's withholding for the avos. That's what it means when it says Hashem desires the prayer of the righteous. That's why sometimes in life, if we don't get what we want, that means we've actually been, sometimes it could be a test, sometimes it could be a punishment, but sometimes it could also be, you know what, you have earned the right, because you're so good, you've earned now the right to come even closer to Hashem. It's not going to be easy, it's not going to be fun, but you've earned that right, and therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu withholds from the the tzaddik, from the parents, from the avos, he withheld the children. That's what it means. Hashem, obviously, you can't. The guy says, "Well, who wants to be a tzaddik then?" I don't want to be a tzaddik. If I'm going to be a tzaddik and Hashem's going to withhold things from me and it's torture. Yeah, well, you don't have a choice, by the way. We still have to be as good as we can. But sometimes a person may have actually gotten to the level where Hashem says, "Okay, now I'm going to pull you up even higher." But getting pulled up doesn't always feel so good. That's the idea. Okay, somebody had a question. No? Okay. Yeah. Forgot it?
There was Esau and there was...
Lavan.
No, but I mean, Esau was
The
Avram's brother, right?
No, Bethuel is the father of Rivka.
Was the father of Rivka, but Avram's
Brother is Haran. Avram's brother is Haran.
So
The father of
Haran
Sarah.
would have been the continuation.
Right, so it stops.
You're saying it stops by Avram.
It stops by Terah. We don't want Terach to be our ancestor. We don't want Haran to be our ancestor. That ancestry stops with their children. Avram, because he couldn't have children, and Sarah, because she couldn't have children. So Terach and Haran, that line stops. Now a miraculous, supernatural new line begins. When it's supernatural, miraculous, that begins a new line. That's Avram and Sarah. Okay, let's go on. So Rivka gets pregnant, and she's told that she has twins. And then take a look on page 126. And this is enter Esau. Vayetze harishon admoni. First one came out red, ruddy. How's the article translate it? Red. Kulo ke'aderes seir. I love this translation. He came out like a hairy mantle, like Mickey Mantle's brother, Harry. Right? He came out like a hairy mantle. Vayikru shmo Esau. They named him Esau. Well, you don't know. Maybe he did have a brother, Harry. So where did he come? Mickey. You know what Mickey Mantle's father's name was? Mutt. M-U-T-T. That was Mutt Mantle. So what do you call and Mickey became an alcoholic. So he says Vayikra Shemo Esau, American hero Mickey Mantle, the alcoholic. So they named him Esau. Now the word Esau, first of all, you have to understand there's a misconception of Esau. Esau is the ultimate Russia. He's horrible. He's terrible. Everything else, but you have to know that Esau has free choice. Esau was born with free choice, and he was born red. And we know somebody else who was born red who became a very big tzaddik. A redhead who became a big tzaddik. Who was that? David HaMelech. That means somebody's born under a certain mazel, the constellation. You have a certain destiny of being a blood spiller. So if you're wicked, you'll become a murderer. If you're wicked, you're Jesse James. If you're average, you become a ritual slaughterer. You slaughter meat. It's a good, respectable parnasa. It's a respectable lively career. But you are, you're still spilling blood. And if you're a tzaddik, you'll become a mohel, a ritual circumciser. Esau has free choice. You have to have this clear. Because if Esau was born bad, so he's no different than a leopard. And a leopard isn't punished. A leopard is born with a tendency to go rip deers apart. That's part of his, he's not doing anything wrong. That's his nature. Esau has a test of free choice like everybody else. And if he channels it in the right direction, he could be a tzaddik also. He mischanneled it. But you have to understand, we're not talking about a guy who was born just with no chance at all. Now, you'll notice his name is Esau. Vayikru shmo Esau. The word Esau, by everybody called him Esau. Everybody called him Esau. That's what it says. Why? Because the word Esau means he was asui. Asui means he's completed. A baby who's born with a lot of hair, he looks like he's a fully developed adult. And therefore he's called Esau. But that's an indication into the lesson we learn from the Esavs of the world. The Esavs of the world live with the sense, I'm done, I'm complete. I don't have to work on myself. That's Esau. Esau is the symbol of, whereas a Torah Jew is called, our job in life is to continue growing and working on ourselves. Ironically, a Torah scholar, what do you call a Torah scholar in Hebrew? A Talmid Chacham. Why is he called a Talmid Chacham? A wise student. He's a scholarly student. Why? Because that means he's always trying to learn more. He's still a student. We don't never see ourselves as complete in any area.
Practicing medicine is the same thing.
Practicing medicine.
Yeah.
Hopefully they feel that way. Hopefully they feel that way, that they have there's always what to learn. A person who thinks I'm good, I'm complete. I don't have to work on my anger, on my ego, on my selfishness. I'm good. That person is an Esau. Okay, we'll see more tomorrow.